Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, has cautioned its members not to engage in a campaign of calumny against any politician or political party, but rather the party will run an issue-based campaign ahead of the general elections. According to Chief Olufalaye, a founding member of the party, Nigeria is in crisis as a result of failed leadership, and SDP is the only party that can restructure and revive Nigeria. The party, in spite of not having a governor in any of the 36 states of Nigeria and no tangible presence in the National Assembly, has vowed to wrestle power from the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, in next year's election. Joining us now to discuss the campaign and the issues as the campaigns begin is Prince Adewole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Good morning, Mr. Adebayo. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, how do you hope to win this presidency? As I said in the introduction, your party, the SDP, does not have a governor, does not have any candidate anywhere, and yet the campaign starts today. What's your strategy for winning? What are the issues on the basis of which you are engaging Nigerians?
Thank you. Our strategy for winning is to draw a line between the terrible past, which Nigerians unanimously have agreed that we've not had a good experience since 1999, and we've not been part of that, so that's a good start. Second is that we fielded candidates in all the important positions. So it's not only me, but all the candidates that we have for senatorial elections, for House of Representatives elections, for governorship, and for the Houses of Assembly are credible people, people trusted in their communities. And our message is that we found a solution, which we found 30 years ago, but was not used, to eradicate poverty. And now we have clear solutions for dealing with insecurity in the country. So it's on the basis of these issues, as you referenced Chief Olufalaye, our founding national chairman, this is on these issues that we are going to engage Nigerian people. And how we want to win this election is different from how elections have been captured in the past. We are not going to use force or trick or money. We are going to use issues. We are going to go to all the 176,180 polling units, and we're going to talk to the Nigerian people using all traditional and digital media to lay the issue down, to bring out plans and programs from our manifesto, and to link that with the constitutional requirement of Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, so that Nigerian people know that we know the issue and we have solutions. And the solutions we have are pragmatic, and practical, and realistic within available resources of the country.
I have a query with some of, when you use the word realistic, I have a query with some of your solutions. American economy is the biggest economy in the world. Do you know the job projections for the American economy between 2023 to 2031? 8.3 million jobs. That's an economy worth trillions of dollars. You said you're going to provide 30 million jobs. How are you going to? That means that's going to be 3 times the projected 10-year job provision of the American economy. How are you going to do it? 30 million jobs.
Thank you. One, we even need to increase that number here, because America is trying, in some part, it's a post-industrial economy. And the number of jobs created in the economy in 2022 is not like when they were in the industrial age, when they had a coal mine and everything. So what America is doing mainly, the calling card for the economy now, is to export the kind of job I want to create now, include the jobs which America is exporting. They want to export their jobs overseas. So they are trying to settle on fewer jobs in cutting-edge technology and in services. We are starting from zero. We are starting from no roads, no ability currently to do agriculture. America is paying people to stop farming because they can't meet the production. There's no demand for their food. We need to get people to go and farm. So I don't think it's helpful to use America, which is structurally different from us in terms of how much job we need. I think you should use countries like India, Indonesia, maybe the south part of China, but America is not in our league. They are trying, where we are now was where they were 100 years ago. And at that time, that's when they created the auto industry, created so many things. So they are post-industrial now.
I'm asking, you see, because all the things you said, we can have an argument and I'll puncture some of the arguments. You talked about America going off coal. That's not true. If you go and look at the fracking laws under Trump, they have brought back those coal mines in the parts of the South, and those were the major campaigning buffers. And those are, if you look at the new jobs,
that now, but
green energy. Yeah. So Trump brought a lot of those things back. You said it was missing.
Biden is trying to reverse that.
And that's why I'm telling you that. What's the step-by-step account for 30 million? How many jobs are we even providing yearly in Nigeria today?
Because you're not making attempts. Most of the money is being diverted. Let me tell you how we're going to provide the job. Now, let me make one thing clear. Within NASIMA, within our own Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, and we even with Lagos Chamber of Commerce, within these sectors we have, the job that we could have created will be at least 10 million. If you look at when I was growing up in Lagos here, factories around Aswani and all those places have closed down. All the Oregon industrial estate closed down. Why? Because of macroeconomic factors. So those jobs will come back on their own if you change those macroeconomic parameters. They're not even government money. Secondly, when you create works...
How you fix those macroeconomic parameters?
You fix them because of the priorities that our government emphasizes. You remember, these problems didn't create themselves. One, we have a situation in which we are not spending on infrastructure. And it's not because we cannot afford to spend on infrastructure. There is infrastructure we can't spend on because we can't afford it. But there is infrastructure we can afford, we're not spending on. Your good friend Fashola was complaining that even the few roads that he's supposed to do, he has budgeted amount of 50 billion for some of them, the money is not being released. And out of 50 billion, he got 7 billion, all of those stories. But in the same administration, they're able to be loose enough that one person can take 109 billion. So within the capacity of the economy, if you just redirect spending from waste to infrastructure, you will be able to create works. If you create an environment where farmers can go to work, if you study Okeogun, Southern Kaduna, Lower Niger and Upper Niger around Kebbi, we are not able to grow rice. We have a lot of rice paddies. We couldn't create them because those areas are under insurgents, are under banditry, and these are issues you can easily be able to deal with. Now, if you look at our port management, by Obasanjo's time, when they were thinking of modular refinery and thinking of port construction, which is expected by now, we will be able to have created capacity every 50 or every 120 nautical miles, we should have a functioning port in all those places. And none of them requires you to bring money. I remember one of the state governments in southern part of Nigeria, I had a proposal to bring a company from Virginia to come and build an airport for for West Africa and Central Africa cargo distribution. The state government decided on its own to budget money to build its own airport, which it couldn't finish and at an exorbitant amount of money. I spoke with the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce, and I've been able to get about 2,000 companies who, without you doing appropriation, are willing to come to Nigeria to help with agriculture, to help with green energy, to help with educational sector, to help with all these things. The idea that a country can, of this our population, given the size of our GDP, given our portrait national income, can grow its own economy by appropriation of money in the National Assembly alone. It's a wrong idea. I've done successfully with the government about 6 PPP projects. Many of them, we have done about 6, we should have done about 6,000 by now. And if you study Thailand, you study Philippines, you study Indonesia, you study all these countries, you study even how China, the Nixon visit to China, how he injected capital into a country that's supposed to be a communist country. We are having serious problem of capital importation into the country. So you can go to NOTAP, you can get all the numbers. So these are the things which we have imposed on ourselves, and we are trying to make them now the standard premises of our economic planning. I'm not going to accept that.
Well, unfortunately, many of these examples from Bangladesh, Pakistan,
Yes.
US, they don't work here because the objective conditions in Nigeria are different.
Yes.
And the character of the people who seek leadership in Nigeria is also radically different.
Yes.
So we're dealing with different kinds of objective conditions. In any case, that's
Don't
not
you
my
agree,
point.
sir?
No,
But that is the reason why people like us are running to change that condition, because that condition is not imposed by God. It is imposed by the choices we made in our past leadership. So it's not as if it's ordained anywhere. And
okay.
This is the change we want
But
to
let
make.
me ask you, are you concerned about the fact that all the polls, we've seen quite a number of polls in recent times, none of those polls even mention Social Democratic Party. It's like they treat the SDP as if it does not exist. And yet, when you started this project, you know, SDP was projected as the focal point of a third force. But now nobody is talking about SDP. You know, it's just about 4 major political parties, 3 with, you know, a 4th one that could be of impact. Where is the SDP in all of this? How do you intend to change that narrative?
Well, the narrative
And what is your program for today? Today that parties are launching their campaigns. Are you also announcing the inauguration of your campaign council today, or you have a different plan?
Okay, let me start with the so-called polls and all this mentioning. We believe that one campaign is starting today. Prior to that, as a law-abiding community, as a political party, law-abiding candidate, we're not going to be doing 1 million man show and all of that. It's against the law. Secondly, we are on the street. We've been doing our work in every of our polling units. Some of our activities have been covered by your media house. Majority of what we're doing, we have not been covering them for other reasons. Now, what we intend to do is to make our work on the street to be the one that is going to bring us to the limelight. People in the media are following people who operate through the media. We are trying to operate through the ground and to get our people to work. I think many of the political parties that you are mentioning, you are polling, they don't have even the membership that we have. In every nook and cranny of Nigeria, we are very busy dealing with our membership. And now that the campaign has started, you will start to see our activity on the street. The man who has 1 million man march will be matched with SDP with 3 million man march, because now it is legal to do so. Now, today, what we are doing is gathering together all the entire leadership of the SDP from the beginning to now. Chief Alai could not make it to Lagos because he's been traveling for us too often now. But every other person, Shoni Bare is coming, everybody is coming. Everybody who has had anything to do with the SDP, coming from all parts of Nigeria, assemble in Ikeja, Lagos today. And there's a reason why we have chosen Lagos, because there is a historical reference to many things in our past, in the past, that happened around Ikeja when Chief Abiola was our candidate. So we're having that event today. I think Ambile and Rice TV has been invited. You will come there. And we are doing our things differently. In terms of this campaign council they are doing, I think they are justly in their own political party for position and all of that. We are trying to get our people to work in their communities where they have credibility. So we are not doing bogus campaign council, putting names of people who are not going to be useful to us in the district. We know where we have delineated the polling terrain to about 5,550 pockets of votes, and we are taking leadership from those communities to go and interrogate issues with their communities. We're not going to do bogus campaign council and hire planes and carrying people from place to place in the country where they don't have any credibility to assist anybody anywhere. So we let them go and work in their community. We are doing an asymmetric campaign that is within reasonable, lawful budget. Yesterday, I got a document from INEC asking us to document our campaign expenses and all of that. So I'm taking care of that to ensure that even when I go out, I go with minimum number of people so that we stay within that legal minute, because SDP will give you a lawful government that learns to obey the law now before we enter government, so that we can get used to it.
But even with this lean approach, yes, lean government, lean campaign budget approach, the money you have been spending, where is it coming from? Are you taking loan to become Nigeria's president?
No, I don't need to take loan. What we are doing basically is that first, you will see from our convention that we have the most, for observers, we have a very beautiful convention that costs the candidates nothing. The candidates among the serious candidates now are the one who have spent the least. So our money is coming from our membership. It's coming from, we sell membership cards to our members. Yesterday we had a big session where we are trying to sell digital cards to our membership now. Every executive member of SDP, if you're an executive, unlike other parties, you don't collect money. If you are an executive of the party, you make a monthly contribution to the party from the ward level to the national level. I myself, as you will see, when I declare my asset within the next 2 weeks, when I declare my asset, I am not particularly a pauper, but I'm not doing money politics either. So all of us now, same thing with my vice president, he's a professional engineer and banker. So we are getting professionals together, and many things that people are paying money for, we are not paying money for. We have our own printing presses all over the country. We don't go commercial to print anywhere. We are trying to make contribution. We try to build a political party that can survive our government and be a standard. That's what we are trying to do. So there is, we have a lot of people in our political party. I think majority of our executives have other jobs. They are professionals. There's no full-time politician anywhere. They are professional people. Our national chairman is a farmer. I'm a farmer, I'm a pharmaceutical operator, I'm a media owner, I'm a lawyer. So everybody you find in our executive is doing on a part-time basis. They have their job. Okay. So that's what we are.
Okay. I'll still go back to the figures again, because you cited we should make comparisons with India. And I'm happy, Dr. Bal, to tell you that those comparisons don't work. Even the India you are citing, with over 1 billion people, India didn't create up to 4 million jobs every year.
No, that would be wrong.
So I mean, you can go and check.
No, I don't need to check. I go to India regularly.
4.5, 4.6, 6, 7, 8 million jobs every year. They don't create more than that.
No,
that's their benchmark. No, you can go and verify. No, it's up there.
Excuse me.
To verify. I'm still going to ask you the question.
Okay. I just want to make sure we clear that error first.
Yeah, India doesn't create up to 10 million jobs. You can go and verify.
More than that.
Okay, go verify. Secondly, another thing
those
you said.
Those who use that language, go verify, tend to fail when we go and verify.
No, you can go verify.
Yes.
So some things I'd like to tell you. You said that you're going to eradicate poverty in 18 months. 18 months. So poverty is the cash disposition to you on a daily basis. People living on less than $1 per day. You know how many millions of those people have in Nigeria? Well over the 70, 80 million people. And you're going to head poverty in 18 months. How are you going to do it?
Okay, first, let's use developmental paradigm. Don't just use simple monetary paradigm. If that's error, the people will say, oh, who lives on $1? The first thing you need to know is what constitutes poverty. Go to the Maslow pyramid. You can't tell me that in this country, we cannot feed people. We can. And you don't need 2 years to provide food for those who have nutritional poverty. Jakande did not need more than 2 years to correct a lot of the imbalances in housing in Lagos. Even when it later came to serve Abacha, it didn't take him more than the second year before he started to see the housing estate in Kwarimpa and all of that. So a government that is sensible, even when Shagari came and they had a failure in their green revolution agriculture, they were able to set up the national supply within 6 months. So when you take action, I'm not saying every Nigerian is going to be rich, and those who are earning less than $1 a day will start earning $7 a day. We didn't know. I'm saying that when it comes to intervention in extreme poverty, intervention in terms of food, in terms of access to medical care, in terms of access to basic housing, all of those things can be addressed within 18 months. Because you come in...
So you're not going to end poverty in 18 months?
You end poverty, because poverty is
that you're going to end poverty in 18 months.
Poverty as defined by me is not making, on the SDP, it's not making everyone a millionaire. It's like when a person wakes up in the country, in Nigeria, within the 4 walls of Nigeria, he doesn't have to worry about food. When we won't have a homeless person in Nigeria in 18 months, we have the means to do that. You are not going to have people who have kwashiorkor, diseases, rashes on their body, and they cannot go to a medical center near them. After you have done that, that is poverty. The rest is how to now create productivity for the country and raise the national income and per capita income for everybody. That is a long-term project. But to say that in Nigeria today, those who are hungry can wait for 2 years before they can be fed, it's a wrong policy. It is not what our Constitution provides for. The kind of government provided for in Chapter 2 of our Constitution is the opposite of the government we have been running. And that's the government we are bringing. That is why we are different. We would suspend everything you are doing and ensure that you spend money on social investment, and you cannot have hungry people. People cannot access medical care. People are homeless, and say that the government has any business.
Okay, Professor Adebayo, you were born after the Civil War.
That's correct.
You were born after independence. In a matter of days, we're going to be celebrating 62 years of Nigeria's independence. And you want to be president of this country. What really is your motivation? And what are those key specific things that you think that we need to correct to move this country forward as a post-independence child?
First, the thing that worries me was that the Lancaster House dreams, those politicians went to Lancaster House to negotiate our independence. They were confident at a minimum that we will be able to carry out some basic national development and that we will be able to eradicate illiteracy and basic problems around that time. And that we would, because of that understanding in Lancaster House, that gradually, especially people like Adewole and Azikiwe, they believe that gradually the regionalization will kind of provide a basis for us to come together at the center. Now, looking at that, they didn't envisage that we're going to go and have a civil war. Even after the civil war, when Gowon said, no victor, no vanquish, it is believed, and especially since 1979, just about less than a decade after the war, we had Dr. Ekweme as vice president of Nigeria. It was believed that we will have achieved national unity by now. Nobody was talking about region or where you come from. We haven't achieved that. We're even creating new crevices to debate about. Secondly, we have not been able to do justice. None of the errors of from 1966 today has been able to see justice. We did a Okuta panel, we did a few things, but we've not been able to give anybody closure. So all those dramatic personnel, at the end of their life, when they're, whether in Woboshi, whether whoever who was part of that system, as they are winding down their life, they still carry grievances with them. So what is motivating me now the following. One, I want us to learn to say the truth about our history and about our present situation. Secondly, I want us to be able to do justice across ethnic, religious, class, gender, whatever. I want us to also do economic justice between the privileged classes, like people like us in the studio here, and the millions who are out there or catered for. Fourthly, I want us to run a government that is competent. The
only privileged man I see in the studio. You're good.
Well, I've seen you.
You want to be president?
So I want us to.
Are you one of the privileged classes?
I mean, you declare that you're not doing too badly.
Yes, just speak for yourself.
So I want us to be able to remember our people and have a country where we measure the wealth of the country, the progress of the country, by what the average person on the street is doing. And lastly, we want the generation we have now to not be angry with the country. We don't want an aggrieved generation. We don't want them leaving this country, say we want to japa, they are angry with the country. When they are overseas, they spend a lot of money on how the country is going to be divided and splintered. We want to create a digital pathway for development so that the Nigerian can stay at home and believe that he can realize all his dreams. It doesn't mean that you won't go out, but you go out like someone looking for the golden fleece, but you know that you are not being chased out of your country by circumstances. That is why I'm running for president. And there are solutions. And I feel personally insulted, functioning, going around all over the world, and it looks to me like people in the world will assume, when they see our government, that we have chosen our best. And we are ashamed of what they do. We haven't chosen our best, we choose our worst. So I believe that we should be able to come out and encourage an ordinary citizen, as is written in our Constitution, to rise by the power of ideas into prominence, into leadership, not people queuing up behind money bags or intellectuals helping money back to explain their idiocy, to explain their incompetence. We want a situation where you can challenge me based on ideas, and Rufai can run tomorrow, I will challenge you based on ideas. And this idea, you fall and rise by your ideas, not by the amount of money or the amount of opportunity you wasted for the country. You are having a resume full of failures and unaccomplished objectives. And say, well, I've been in politics for 30 years, it is my turn. No, this is why I'm running. And I don't want this generation to think that what is happening in Canada, what's happening in Europe, what's happening all over the world is not applicable. That gerontocrats who have lost their ways will continue to die on top of our heads in offices while we just lament and go and do NSAS and do other things. We can actually take our communities and start acting at every level. And I believe that the presidency, given the way we have written our constitution, is where we put our best men. And now we are reduced out of 220 million Nigerians, there are only 18 of us running for that office. Out of that 18, you make the best what you can do. And next time, I believe that a better crop, even than us, will come.
Okay, so I would like to interrogate your poverty idea even further.
Yes.
Because
what's the eradication idea?
No, because what you're saying is, you're not saying how you're going to do it, how you're going to put out. Worldpovertyclock.io is a standard barometer to measuring poverty. And they tell you that once you go below the $2 per day threshold or $1 per day, that's extreme poverty. But your idea, you're saying Maslow hierarchy. But the real target on the issue is the earning per day that most million, let me finish please, that most million Nigerians cannot afford. Yeah. That's it. So I will now tie this around, you said you want to create jobs. How paying are these jobs going to be? Are they going to be minimum wage jobs? And are you going to increase minimum wage? Because it's based on their income that people can buffer against poverty.
Okay, first, when you attempt this, when you take this Bretton Woods econometric as a basis for an analysis in an economy like this, we've missed the way. First, $2 a day. Where did the World Bank and IMF get it from? They get it from the gross national income. So they take your population and they take the average income and then they divide it and say, well, this is your per capita income. Then they do it divided by 365 days. That's where they get their figure from. This is not realistic because they're not taking care of purchasing power parity. They're not taking care of other social services that you get. So if a person is in Lagos and has access to maternity ward, has access to food bank, has access to free and qualitative education, has access to mass transit. It doesn't matter whether they earn $1 or $2 or $3. That's not the issue. Even those who are privileged, who work in media houses, who earn a lot of money, they still have to pay.
We don't earn a lot of money.
A lot of money like you. You are far above $1 a day, I'm sure. People don't have $1 an hour. So, but at the end of the day, you don't have access to medical care. You don't have access to transportation. So your colleague who works on BBC only needs to use the Oyster card and snap it, but you have to go and queue up and buy bad fuel and go to mechanic the day after. So all of these factors are not taken into consideration. So in Africa, if you want to, let's follow the way we were taught in Africa, alternative economics. Even in New York, I go to the school of alternative economics. I don't want to get lost in Bretton Woods because they have a paradigm that doesn't work for us. What I want us to do is this. I want us not to look at, if you remember when Jerome Udoji was set up to do Udoji Award, the first person, Udoji Commission to do that with Udoji salaries, they forgot about inflation. They forgot about so many other factors. So they pay people a lot of money and they went and bought radio, bought TV sets and bought things they couldn't sustain. Whereas our counterpart in India and other places were taking that amount of money, using it to reduce general factor cost. So that if you are traveling from Delhi to Kerala, it costs you less than traveling from Lagos to Ibadan. So I want to bring factor costs down, especially since the government that is there now has done poor stewardship of fiscal and monetary management. So I cannot afford any more inflation because if I increase your salary by 30%, inflation and purchasing power parity will distort by 60%. So you are worse than before. So my uncles who
So you will not increase minimum wage. You allow Nigeria to keep grinding with this kind of minimum wage.
No. You see, minimum wage is not the problem. Cost of living is the problem. In fact, if you go back and, I know you read a lot, go and read that Udoji Award. There's a concept there called COLA, cost of living allowance.
That's been since the 1940s.
Yes, and when my uncle was Stationer General of the Federation, so when I was living with him, I used to go to my Marina, Broad Street, statistician office to go and collect that people. So on the way home, I will be reading them. So they will tell you the price of garri in Ilesha, the price of cooking oil in Kafanchan. They used to have all those things and put together. What the government is doing now is that they are doing collective bargaining. So if Labour Congress frowns its face hard, or they say they're going to block the highway, so they say, okay, 18,000 minimum wage. But if you ask them to bring out the numbers behind it, 18,000, what can he buy for that person? What can he buy? What could he buy last month? What can he buy now? And what's your medium-term expenditure framework? What's your projection of what you can buy? If you look at our first national development plan that we had, it had all these factors all listed in it. And even up to Second Republic, if they wanted to give you a contract under UPN, Adewole, Ajasi, and all the rest of them, they will go to the market and do pricing of the components of it, and then they will calculate it. So all of these things we are going to bring back. So I'm not going to take numbers. I'm going to take
Adebayo, don't worry.
Yes.
We're about to go now.
Oh,
but between us, the French will say, entre nous.
Yes.
Do you really believe that you stand a chance in this election? Or you are doing this, just for name recognition, self-positioning?
If I want to do
how serious are you about it?
If I want to do
in less than 1 minute.
No, if I want to do name recognition. Sunny Ade is my cousin. He can sing for me. Everybody will know my name. That's not the issue. What I am saying to you is that I am bringing issues to the fore. And I've been going around the country, and people are listening to these issues. People wait 5 hours in the sun for me to come and tell them these issues. So these people are not stupid. These people care. They want to know. And we are going to go around the country. What I can guarantee is that nobody can sit down in a TV studio and wish himself as president. You must go around the country and do the grind. And nobody can use a poll or Twitter to make yourself president. You must go and meet the people where they are. And if we consistently do what we are doing now, and more people join us, we will win the election, and you'll call us back. Maybe you meet us at Jingle Square, or call us back to your studio and say, how did you do it? And that will be a new paradigm for Nigerian politics.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince Adewole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party.